the driving force for me is to create products that outlast me. So I wanted to have a legacy product for my kids, my grandkids, same with the staff that work at Vessel, just to have something that'll outlast everyone. So to have a product that in 50, 100 years, people will still be using in some form or another. So yeah, for us, it's a legacy product.
And Thomas Edison believed that innovation begins with a concept that is marketable and makes consumers' lives better.
Yep.
How did your organization go from an idea to a market-ready solution, and were there any changes you might have made along the way?
It really, for us, was early simple prototypes that evolved into more complex prototypes as proof of concept was sort of vetted out. So we would start off with really inexpensive plastic molds, work on the process, work on the prototype, and then sort of research with friends, family, network on the practicality, the viability of it commercially, and see what the feedback was, and then go back to more and more expensive development processes, because we wanted to start off with something that was economically feasible from a development perspective, because these things can cost a fortune if they spiral. And then at each stage, make sure we evaluated where the product was at that time. So then innovation was really driven by starting off with inexpensive prototypes, scaling up to full-scale production. And then along every stage, making sure that you were hitting commercial viability. So that was the thing for us. And once we had what we thought was a commercially viable product, just send a few samples out to some of the media, influential media, and get some feedback. And then for us, the feedback was almost instantaneous, and then it went like wildfire with really good press, printed and online. And it was at the point that we knew that that innovative stage worked to the point where it was being validated in the press. So that was a process for us.
What is the most important lesson you've learned from pursuing new frontiers, and how do you pass that on to others?
I think the biggest lesson for me as a founder, you end up doing a bunch of everything, but when you're doing product and product innovation or technology innovation, you have to focus on the things that you're passionate about. So for me, it's getting up in the morning, doing the things there's all sorts of mundane parts of a company, and exciting parts, not exciting parts. But as a founder and innovator, you have to do the things that drive you. So for me, it's staff your weaknesses. So find the things that I don't want to do, or that I'm not passionate about, because there's other people that are passionate about those things. Hire them to do those jobs, so that I stay focused and passionate about the thing that drives the company. So that's the key for me, is just to make sure that if you're not passionate about certain aspects of the business, they'll drag you down, the drudgery. So find people that are passionate about those parts of the business and hire them, regardless of what it costs.
Right. What is the vision for your product in the future, and can you share any additional things you're working on?
The thing for us, we're entering into the retail retail channels, and it's not good enough just to have one product that sits there forever. You always have to innovate, so you have to make product improvements. And then for us, we have multiple versions of the product, and so we'll constantly have different iterations. Every iteration takes about 12 to 18 months from start to finish, and then want to make sure we keep that sales channel fresh with new product and new innovation. And then, so the next version for us will be the world's greatest camping stove. It'll be in there. So that's in prototype development right now.
Who's inspired you to help build the future, and what have you learned from them?
I would say my mom. She was a single mom raising 3 kids that were definitely a bit of a handful. And so seeing her, as a young kid, go through that, working multiple jobs with a lot of hardship involved, and then how she persevered. And so I think that's been a big driving force for me. And then, looking now that I'm growing up with kids, you kind of realize that what she went through, and how she stayed optimistic through the whole process and still persevered. And so I think that's a big life lesson for me, is just doesn't matter what happens, you got to stay optimistic and drive.
And the Edison Awards recognizes the most innovative products, services, and teams from around the world and across all markets. What does winning an Edison Award mean to you and the company?
I think for us, it's a validation point. So you see a lot of the nominees, all really credible companies. You see past winners, incredibly credible companies. You see some of those winners have gone on to great commercial success. The people that are evaluating, reviewing the winners, it's a big validation step for us, is to have that association with the Edison Awards. So it's just a real, you check your boxes all along the way. That's a real validation box.
And then I just have one.
Yep.
Since you have it, I would like for you to just give me a short little thing about that specific product
Sure.
and what's in it, and maybe take it apart and show
Sure.
it. I think Steve would like that.
Can do it.
So.
Yeah. So it is a 9-inch by 2-inch extruded anodized aluminum cylinder, and then it has an LED light that has 3 modes: bright, medium, SOS. And SOS just works on its own. So if you're in an emergency situation, you can just leave that on, take it off the cylinder, and then it has all of the instructions for priorities of survival. A lot of people might not know exactly how to use the components, even if they have an emergency situation. So it has the instructions for kind of how to use everything. Although, obviously best to you're heading out in the woods or wilderness situation to learn your environment ahead of time. And then inside is all of the different tins. It's going to be hard to do without a table that holds all the various supplies that you need for short-term survival. And for us, it was actually meant almost strictly for emergency survival situations, but we're finding quite a few people, just because the quality of the components and the form factor, are just using it as their 2-3 day hiking gear, just to hold their gear. And both ends removed so you can easily access the contents. And this end contains a 6-hour high quality beeswax candle, which is pretty handy, and a compass in case you're lost. That's it.